So let me tell you a story about how I started a career in engineering. I think stories helps a lot of people understand things, and this has definitely helped me at the beginning of my career. The earliest story I remember was my father telling a story about a project he was working on at the time on important structure. The stakes were high. It had a lot of stories underground, and he was an engineer as well. And I can see him passionate about what he was talking about, the challenges the team was facing, and the ideas they were trying to implement to solve the problems. And I remember looking around at the faces of people and seeing the respect and seeing the interest, the genuine interest. And I thought, interesting. There's something going on here. Like I'm feeling a sense of adventure. And later on, I thought more about this story and I realized the essence of it, it was like an adventure. There is a goal, there is an aim. We need to build this structure that will benefit the community. And then there is a whole bunch of challenges, a whole bunch of problems. And now there is a team that is working on it and facing all the odds to solve it and eventually being successful and completed the job and completing the project. That story stuck with me. I was very young. I must have been like 12 years old or something like that. So, in a way, I kept that story in mind because it captured my interest. I still remember it to this day. And that's a good first clue. Like, if you're looking for something meaningful, something that will bring meaning to your life, and you don't have to feel like you're going to work. You're going to work because you have this sense of adventure. You're doing something important. You're voluntarily taking the responsibility of what you're doing. You see the value of it. I wouldn't say this will happen all the time. It doesn't happen to everyone. But if you set an intention out there to pursue that aim, I highly recommend it. I can share with you how that helped me every step along the way. So working from that, I realized engineering could be a thing for me. I have this genuine interest in solving problems. I like serving people, helping the community. I'm very interested in building things. I watch a lot of YouTube about people building, I don't know, forging steel and building wood tables. So that's another thing to pay attention to. What are your interests? So I thought, okay, this story captured me. It's about a career in engineering. And I started looking into it, and it was structural engineering, civil engineering. So I thought, all right, what are the good schools um, to study this profession? And that's probably the next step that you will need to know. Like you think of an example and you reverse engineer how to achieve that goal. So I realized, okay, like first step is going to be an undergraduate degree. And the school I wanted to go to, it was very competitive. A lot of people wanted to go to this school. So I realized I need to get good grades in in high school. So I didn't have a lot of problem with math and physics because I saw the application, I saw the meaning. This is going to be something I'm going to need to be able to practice engineering, to be able to solve problems for my clients, and I could be that hero in that story that thought really hard about a problem and helped the team uh, come up with a plan, see it through, and finish the project. So I didn't specifically think of it like that when I was studying to join the undergrad program, but it definitely helped me to go through the challenges, the difficult, um, like studying, the math problems, the physics, all the other subjects that I didn't really care much about, just to go through it with good grades to enable me to study the profession that I wanted to pursue. And I was very lucky and very grateful. I managed to go to the school that I wanted, and it was a big difference in a lot of things. It was a big difference in my colleagues. I started to see more like minded people. It's almost like I started to find my people, people that were in it for a similar reason. I also started to see less of the subjects that I didn't care about and more of the things that appeared in this theme, in this story. Like, okay, so if I'm going to be studying engineering, I'm going to be working on buildings. There was a course on machine parts, how to draw the machine parts and how to build them, and forging steel, and like that was like a mechanics uh, course. A lot of students hated it. But I remember I was like, this is really cool. This is really cool. I really don't mind seeing how these machines work and how do you build things together. So I did well in the first few years, and then working towards my fifth year, I was exhausted. I was exhausted. It was a lot of work, a lot of information, goes a lot into the principles. But to this day, I'm very grateful to the hard work I needed to do in my undergrad. This is another thing I highly recommend. If you're pursuing a career, looking for a career, do hard things. Do a lot of hard work. And the way I see it is you put mileage ahead of the competition. So your competitors are going to hate doing the hard work as much as you do. But if you're genuinely interested in what you're doing, maybe hard things are going to be a little bit less hard for you, and it's going to enable you to go far. And that's what ended up happening for me. I ended up um, doing a good capstone graduation project. And again, I was very fortunate to having mentors in the industry, in engineering industry, working in consulting, that were generous enough to give me time and give me advice. And I took it seriously. That's another thing I highly recommend. If you're doing something difficult and if you're pursuing something worth achieving, take it serious. Now I teach engineering, and throughout my career I practiced consulting full time, and I did a Ph.D. in engineering. And when I look at some of my students now, and I see the value of the information I'm offering them. It took me a lot of mistakes, a lot of time to develop this knowledge, and now I'm sharing with them. And some of them are brilliant, and it's the reason why I continue teaching. And some of them I just see like they're not interested, they're not taking it seriously, and that's not a good sign, especially very early on in your career. Because as I mentioned, hard work, you need to build that body, that mass of skills and competence, and then you shape it into your career. So, in a way, it doesn't really matter at the beginning what you choose to do. Just take it seriously, do it well, face difficult challenges, don't run away from it. And one way of looking at this is you're going to actually set yourself apart from your competition, and then you'll increase value. Now you can offer people solutions and services, and you can solve problems that is not easy to solve. And that's a good thing. You can create value this way. So I was so excited when I finished my undergrad. And I didn't have a clear vision what to do next. Definitely graduate school wasn't on my mind. I was so exhausted. I thought probably that's it for my school studying. No more exams. Of course, I was wrong. I did a lot of exams afterwards. But I did a good decision, I think. I worked full time in the industry. So to get a sense, to get a feel what real life looks like, it was good to think about the theory, read a lot of textbooks, learn from professors, but eventually you need to get your hands dirty and see how real life works. Um, Again, I think I was very fortunate to be offered an opportunity right after I graduated to work with a very good consulting office. They were working on design of tall buildings, and that matched fit right into my interests. Like building a very tall building for me, it's a miracle. Like if you go on the top floor of a very tall building, if they have like an observation level or something like that, you get a very unique perspective. And then you think, how is this thing stable and how you can go so high, so tall? Same thing when you're on the uh, first floor and you look how tall that thing is. So for me, I've always thought, how do they build it? I was very genuinely interested in the design of buildings, and that led me into the analysis of structures, reinforced concrete, steel buildings. So it made understanding these concepts less difficult for me, that I was genuinely interested in the outcome. And I'm gonna get fast forward to a moment in my professional career, and I was like, okay, at my top performance in my consulting career, I had a PhD in engineering. I had my engineering license. I had few years of experience under my belt, and I was working on the design of tall building. And in a way, it connected with my early story um, about facing a challenge and working with a team to solve the problem. And that got me to work a lot of overtime. I remember the deadlines were very challenging and the stakes were so high, very high profile project, very tall building, and the clients want their work yesterday. And there is a lot that goes into the analysis of tall buildings. Wind loads, software modeling, design of the reinforced concrete shear walls and cores, design of floors, beams, slabs, and I realized that quality is going to be the most important thing and integrity. So for me, the only way was to put a lot of overtime. I remember in 1 month, I think it was like April, I worked 3 weeks worth of overtime. That was a crazy story. I remember, and that part of the story made me realize that wherever I go, I take the same person with me, myself. And I tended to work kind of late and overtime, and I've always had a mixed feeling about working long overtime because nobody's in the office. I'm by myself. It's getting late. All this long hours of work is affecting my social life. It's affecting my hobbies. But something about it felt good. Something about it felt like I am putting the competition behind. I am trying to achieve something difficult and do it in a manageable time. Because if you work regular hours only, the deadline will have to be pushed. Well, probably those 3 weeks of overtime that I ended up working. So the story was, you finish the regular work hour day, and then everyone starts gradually to go home, and I'm still going. And then it's like dark, late, 9 o'clock in the office, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then everything is so quiet, and I get like a second wind of focus, and I'm solving problems, and I'm ticking off tasks from my checklist, and all the licenses I need for the softwares are available because no one is working. It's so quiet, no phone calls, no emails, no distractions, and I just like focus so hard. And next thing is like 6 in the morning or 7 o'clock. So I remember so I remember walking out of the office, walking out of the building, and a senior partner in the office is walking in, and he was like, "You must be kidding me." And I'm like, "Yep, the deadline is coming, and I will go for like a couple hours of rest, and I will come back." Looking back at this is definitely not sustainable. I don't recommend living like that or working like that for a very long time. It ended up burning me out significantly, and it probably, yeah, I think it did affect my performance professionally for a year to recover from that. No one does that. So it was good for me to explore the limit, to explore what I'm capable of doing. And then I'm like, okay, I can do that. And let's scale back a little bit. Let's find some balance. Let's work on other things in life. Definitely, life is not all about work, it's about a lot of other things as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to one of the very first experiences in my professional life that made an impact as well. This one, maybe you can say it wasn't very positive, it wasn't very supportive, but um, I think it influenced me in a positive way. So, shortly after I finished my undergrad, so I'm going back to my undergrad degree, still not clear about what to do in the profession. Not sure how my career will look like, but I started to notice trends and pay attention. So a lot of my professors at university, um, they had a PhD degree in engineering, and they did it in North America. So I thought, okay, I can see all the students, all the respect. Some of them were also partners in consulting office. So I see, okay, so that's an option. But I'm so um, burnt out from school. I don't think I want to go and do courses again. So I decided to take a job in a very good consulting office, and I ended up leaving home and going to work with this office. And they were doing very interesting structural design for tall buildings. And very quickly, maybe I don't know, maybe I was excited, maybe I always said yes, yeah, sign me up. I'll learn that new software. Um, I'll do the drafting myself. I'll crunch the numbers. So that's another thing to pay attention to as well. If there is an opportunity and someone is looking for volunteers or looking for someone that would be suitable, maybe when you step up and volunteer or ask for more work, that's a good strategy. It got me in a place where I was working with an interesting group in the office, and our client was an architect. They're very demanding. It's a high profile building, it's a tall building. And the story is about a meeting that I went to attend with another professional engineer from the structural side to the architecture office. And I still remember this story, and I thought a lot about it. And this is my take now. This is how I remember it, and this is what I think happened. Probably I was very excited to be there, and I wanted to show that I know um, important principles and equations and concepts about the design of tall buildings. And at a time, I was just like graduated the year before. So I had like probably less than a year experience. So the architect is trying to serve their client. Their clients are very demanding. They're definitely paying for this fancy tall building, and also trying to get the engineers, the structure engineers, to do what they want. And there's me in the meeting saying like, no, you can't make the doors bigger than that because the beams on top of the door is supporting the earthquake load. And I'm so confident and proud that I know that. So this must have rubbed the guy the wrong way. Like he's the senior architect in the office, and they are our client, and we're attending a meeting at their office. And he kind of looked at me and said, like, how many years of experience do you have? And I'm like, I graduated the year before. And he was like, this is an important project. This is a big project. This is unacceptable. And he left the meeting. He left me there. so, so I knew when he was saying that there is a lot I don't know. And probably that was part of my excitement because I was excited that I'm working on something important and I'm building my experience. So I'm like, yeah, I hear you. I know that I have a lot to learn. And probably that was a reason later on for me to decide to go do a PhD in engineering. And it definitely helped me, and I learned a lot. But I didn't up continue to work too much with this very first firm. I thought the work life balance wasn't very balanced. It was very demanding. It was very demanding. So I decided to go back home and connected with my friends and peers and colleagues. And I realized a lot of them are going back to grad school to do a master's degree. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go do exams again. And I'm starting a career in a consulting career. So I didn't want to be left behind. I thought, if this is the industry standard, if like most people are going back for their masters and they're mastering their craft and their profession, and probably in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, a lot of these university professors had a PhD. Even people that I've worked with, professional engineers in the consulting industry, the leaders, the team leaders, and the associates and senior partners, some of them also had a PhD. So I thought it's going to be a difficult thing to jump from like undergrad to a PhD. So maybe masters. You guys are going back. At least I'm not going to be going alone. You guys, couple friends, like already submitted their admission kind of paperwork to get in line, and part of it, I didn't want to be left behind. And sure enough, classes start. These guys, they accepted job offers in other countries and left, and I'm attending school by myself. I have like 8 courses per semester. Uh, Advanced this, advanced that, advanced reinforced concrete, advanced soil mechanics. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening all over again. But again, I took it seriously. I took it serious. I'm like, okay, you know what? I found myself here. Let's learn about this. Let's learn about this. Let's do the assignments. Let's do the actual assignments. They're like time consuming, take a lot of time. But I wasn't like studying day and night. I was working full time. I didn't quit my job. I was working full time in consulting. But that was another consulting firm, very good consulting firm with offices in like 40 plus countries. And it's a larger side corporation, but I definitely learned the basics. Learned the basics there. how large organizations work and how do you truly tackle large projects. I didn't enjoy it very well. I enjoyed working with smaller design office way more because you work with the clients more. You attend more of those meetings that I almost got kicked out of. And I enjoy those meetings because I'm meeting the client and I can see if I'm helping them or not. And you can get the feedback right away. And that actually eventually ended up helping me working with my partner now, Noah and I, we created a course about the basics of structural engineering. We worked together in the same consulting firm for years, and we would get feedback from the clients. They don't have a necessarily have a background in engineering, and we decided to build a platform for to help people understand the basics of structural engineering. It's called Structural Engineering Basics.com. And I did not expect the positive feedback from the people that took this course. Um, so probably it was because there was a genuine interest to help people, and this is something that was a theme throughout my career that kept me going. And whenever I lose that interest, whenever I feel there is no benefit to what I'm doing, or I'm not really working on a real project, or I lose that connection, I start looking for what's next. So again, if you're looking for a career and if you're looking to go far, you need to keep that meaning element into it. See what interests you, see what you find valuable. And I always find a good source of meaning is taking responsibility. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the responsibility of the safety of the public that will use that building or will stand underneath that concrete floor. I'm gonna design it, take responsibility for it, and you know what? I'm gonna go stand underneath it when they're stripping out the formworks. So if it's not designed properly and if it's unsafe, I'll be underneath it anyway. So I don't know. I thought that was like a good source of meaning, you know? I'm taking it seriously. Again, and then it gives you when you take your work seriously, it also it's like a two-side coin. Responsibility and power and authority, I think they're two sides to one coin. So if you're taking your work seriously, then you can say no. You can I learned this the hard way. You should always offer a solution. Don't be just the problem. Be part of the solution. So I can say like, no, this is not going to be possible for these reasons. The structure is going to be unsafe. It's going to deform too much. It's going to be so expensive. And then I would leave, kind of make the picture, help my clients make the decisions. So the way the going back to a postgraduate degree worked, I ended up taking a lot of vacation time from work to do to study at school. So again, it wasn't very helpful for my life work balance, but I did it. I spent a year doing courses. I would take time off to study before the exams, and it was very interesting stuff, like advanced courses. But it helped me solve tougher problems. Like eventually, like when I was like top performing at my career, the difficulty, the challenge level of the engineering problems that was finding their way to my desk was steadily increasing, and I was like, something is going on. This is so interesting. I'm working with like staircases that are like feature architecture staircase, and we need to design it structurally, check the vibration that people. It's a staircase supported from one side. You know how next time you're walking up the stairs in a building, most probably you'll see walls on four directions. So that one problem that uh, I was asked to help work with was a staircase supported from just one side, and the stairs sticking from one side. And so there were a whole bunch of concerns. Is this thing gonna crack under its own weight? Is this thing gonna be able to support the people when a lot of people are walking up or down the stairs at the same time? Is the vibration gonna make them uncomfortable? So it's problems like these that I go back to the first principles and the schoolwork, the courses, the textbooks, and then you also learn from mentors and from peoples and from others. It's an excellent skill. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to kind of think everything from scratch. As a matter of fact, this is the first thing I do. So a new project comes in the office, or a new problem finds its way to my desk, I ask around, did we do something like this before? I don't want to reinvent something and it ends up taking a lot of time and resources, becomes very expensive, and it's not the most effective and the most efficient anyway because we've done it before many times. So, first, learn from others, learn from others' mistakes, learn from other projects. And if I can't find something similar to what we need to accomplish, then I get very interested. I'm like, okay, now we're pushing the boundaries. Now, now it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a lot of overtime hours. Wow. So, so I think that's a good thing because you learn from difficult things you do. And if you don't back down from difficult challenges, in my experience, it builds experience and you can create value and you can help more people. You need to navigate that as well. You need to understand your own worth and your own value and what you're capable of offering. And don't offer it for free. Don't work for free. Don't offer it cheap because that's not going to help the people you're trying to help see the value. You're like, gonna be okay, that's free, that's worth nothing. No, no, that's something that I've worked really hard to achieve and to be capable of providing to the people I want to serve and I want to help. And that's what I do with my students. The, some of the modules and some of the courses are challenging, and some of them are more interested than others. And I try to motivate, I try to mentor, I try to guide, but eventually there is a limit if the student is not showing interest at all. From my experience, there's very little I can do to reverse that. But man, if they're interested, oh, our meetings, like I'm actually excited to meet the student. I'm like, okay, I want to see what you've done in the past week, what kind of questions you have, and I enjoy sharing stories like these. What has worked for me and what didn't with the students and answer their questions. So what I'm trying to say is, don't give it for free and understand the value of what you do. And if you haven't done enough valuable work, then start from the beginning. Look for something you're genuinely interested in. Face difficult tasks, difficult challenges. Don't back away. Do a lot of it. Create that body mass of skills and knowledge and experience, and then shape it into a career. I ended up finishing my master's, and what really motivated me to finish it and do all the experimental work and lab work was that I got a chance to do a PhD in North America. So I decided to quit my job, leave home, and move. At the beginning, it felt like, again, it's a step down again, it's a step back again, because I was working as a professional, I was getting paid for the work I do. Now I'm a student again. It's like a PhD student, but still a student, like a glorified student. You take courses, the assignments are challenging, they're real engineering problems. And just few months ago, I was getting paid to do this engineering work. Now I'm doing it as a student. So the first year was a little bit challenging to get in the mindset and to accept the new situation and to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. A lot of soul searching. What am I doing? I'm away from home. I'm a student again. Why am I doing this? And I keep arriving to the same questions. I'm doing it because it's difficult, because it's towards a goal, it's because it's towards an interest in a profession, in building things. And part of it also was admiration to like competent professors. So um, that can be inspiring. Like if you follow someone that inspires you, you can find a lot of answers. A lot of my professors, I can see the respect they've earned, the projects they've worked on, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll listen. I'll listen to what you have to say. I will attend the lecture. I will take notes. I will do the assignment. um, and after the first year, I started to see a lot of results. I realized I was building experience toward my professional designation because my supervisor is a professional engineer, so that works as engineering experience. I was getting good grades, so I was establishing myself in the new place. I got some flexibility in choosing my research topic, and I chose a topic that I thought was interesting, related to what I did in my master's, and I took full ownership of it. And kind of my advisor and school facilitated that. They were like, okay, you know what? Go build whatever prototypes or samples or concrete you need to build. And it was a lot of hard work. I was like carrying stuff and bending steel stirrups and tying bars and pouring concrete, finishing the specimens, putting it on a testing machine, observing all the cracks and taking photos and doing analysis. And eventually I ended up writing my thesis, and I got peer reviewed journal publications. That helped me a lot in my writing skills, to fine tune my technical abilities. And I think one of the hardest and the toughest and most challenging phases was the response to the peer review critics to the peer review journals. So to graduate, you need to publish with a PhD. You need to demonstrate that what you've done is valuable to the scientific community and to the engineering community. And a good way to show that is that your work gets accepted as a paper publication in a technical journal. And the more readers and the better the journal, the kind of the better the credits to your work. And I think rule of thumb, if you can get three journal papers, that's a good size of work for a PhD. And I ended up getting those published. And it was difficult. The hardest part was to work so hard for so long, a lot of late nights, and then you come up with a theory, you come up with a body of work, and you think hard about the words, and you write it down, and you send it to your peers, to other people, and they shred it into pieces. They criticize everything. It weighs on your soul. But actually, my advisor helped me a lot because he said like, "Oh, these comments are not bad at all. You haven't seen the bad comments." I'm like, "Okay, that's good news." So at least they didn't say no. So I'm like, "Okay, back to um, more analysis, respond to my reasons, defend my thesis." And I did that not just once, I did that three times for three journal papers. And one of them, the last one, I did it after I finished my PhD and I was working full time in consulting. So I'm glad I did that. I learned a lot about technical writing. It improved significantly the way I write my reports so that technical reports can defend themselves. I don't need to kind of attend every meeting this report gets submitted to defend my thesis and to defend my design. So graduate school is something I recommend if you have a reason for it, if you know why you want to go back to graduate school. So now I'm working full time in consulting. I am experiencing an increased level of challenging projects. I have a lot of stories about these projects, so I'll probably share them later. Um, and I'm learning. I feel I'm putting some mileage towards creating that mass of knowledge. And at a later stage, I think it was around my 30th 30th birthday. I made a decision. It was like I felt 30 years is a milestone, and I decided, you know what? I've learned enough. Well, you never learn enough. You will continue to learn. But I made the decision to start giving. I'm like, okay, I've done a lot of work. There is a good chance that guy in the meeting at the beginning of the first story wouldn't kick me out of the meeting. And probably I will be humble. Now, hopefully, now I'm more humble. I'm not going to be um, super excited. I'm going to be here to serve and to provide help solving problems. I'm going to try to be not part of the problem. And I'm going to start to give. And eventually, that led to me um, going back to teaching engineering at university level. And it's almost like it connected me with young people at the beginning of their career. And I see myself in them. And I see how I didn't know what I was, where I was going and what I wanted to do. But I'm seeing some interesting trends now. I don't know if everybody loves to blame the new generation, and probably our generation was blamed by the generations before us. But I'm noticing a trend. I don't know if anyone kind of noticing the same trend. Like share the comments with me. Less interest in engineering in general. I don't know where is this coming from. The students that decide to go in engineering, a significant percentage of them are not very interested in what they're studying. I try to emphasize in my lectures. I try not to make it all boring. Attention spans for students is very short, very short. You probably have like 10 minutes at the beginning when they're kind of all on board, and then you see kind of like everyone wondering, kind of thinking about what they'll eat next or something like that. So I try to share the story. We learn a lot from stories. And I'm like, okay, here is a story where a problem happened in the structure, and the owner called the engineer, and this is what the architect says, and this is what the contractor says, and this is how we solve the problem. I can almost remember a lot of these stories in my undergrad. So that's why I'm sharing this story today. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments, and I want to be sharing more of these stories very soon. Okay.